In the misty shadows of Victorian London, a phantom killer emerged from the fog, slashing his way into infamy and leaving behind a trail of mutilated bodies that would baffle detectives for over a century. Known only as Jack the Ripper, this elusive monster preyed on the vulnerable women of the East End, turning the autumn of 1888 into a season of unrelenting terror that still sends chills down our spines today. Picture the grimy streets of Whitechapel, the overcrowded slum in London's East End, where poverty clung to every corner like the thick fog rolling in from the Thames. It was 1888, a time when Queen Victoria's empire was at its height. But in this forgotten district, life was a daily grind of despair. Immigrants from Ireland and Eastern Europe crammed into crumbling tenements, sharing rooms with strangers for a few pennies a night. Children died young from disease and malnutrition, while adults drowned their sorrows in cheap gin at dingy pubs. Robbery and violence were everyday occurrences, and with no real welfare system. Many women turned to prostitution just to survive, walking the dark alleys under flickering gas lamps, risking everything for a handful of coins. The police were stretched thin, patrolling on foot with little more than whistles and lanterns. And the area buzzed with tension from anti-Semitism and social unrest. It was in this hellish backdrop that the Ripper found his hunting ground, striking when the nights grew long and the streets emptied out. The victims were ordinary women caught in the web of hardship, each with their own heartbreaking story of loss and struggle. First came Mary Ann Polly Nichols, 43-year-old mother of 5 who had fallen on hard times after her marriage crumbled due to alcoholism. She bounced between workhouses and the streets, earning what she could through prostitution. On that fateful night of August 31st, 1888, Polly was last seen alive around 2:30 a.m., chatting with a friend near Osborne Street, her faded dress and worn boots a testament to her rough life. Then there was Annie Chapman, 47, a once respectable woman, widowed and plagued by illness, her lungs weakened by tuberculosis. She lived hand-to-mouth in common lodging houses, turning tricks to afford her bed. Elizabeth Liz Stride, a 44-year-old Swedish immigrant, had endured a shipwreck, lost her family to tragedy, and reinvented herself multiple times, but ended up in Whitechapel, sewing and cleaning when she wasn't soliciting. Catherine Edos, 46, was a lively soul with a quick temper, hopping between casual labor like hawking goods and more desperate means after her common-law husband left her. Finally, Mary Jane Kelly, the youngest at around 25, was an Irish beauty with a mysterious past, rumors of time spent in upscale brothels in France and the West End, now reduced to renting. Tiny room in Miller-esque court singing Irish ballads to charm clients. The horrors began unfolding in the dead of night, each crime more savage than the last, as if the killer was honing his gruesome craft. It started with Polly Nichols on Bucks Row, a narrow, dimly lit passage flanked by warehouses and cottages. Around 3:40 a.m., a carman named Charles Cross stumbled upon her body lying in a pool of blood, her skirts hiked up and her throat slashed ear to ear, with 2 deep, precise cuts that nearly severed her head. Her abdomen had been ripped open with jagged incisions, her intestines protruding slightly. But the mutilations were just beginning. The killer had stabbed her viciously in the lower body, leaving wounds that spoke of rage or ritual. No one heard a scream. The Ripper had struck silently, vanishing into the fog before the police arrived. The inquest revealed she had been killed where she lay, her warm body suggesting the murder had happened moments before discovery. Barely a week later, on September 8th, Annie Chapman's fate sealed the pattern. In the cramped backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, a rundown tenement buzzing with residents. Her body was found at dawn by a lodger named John Davis. Her throat was cut so deeply it exposed her vertebrae, and her abdomen had been laid open like a book, with flaps of skin folded back. The killer had removed her uterus, parts of her bladder, and sections of her vagina, placing her intestines neatly over her right shoulder and bits of flesh on her left. Witnesses recalled seeing her earlier that morning with a dark-haired man in a deerstalker hat, murmuring about earning her Dawes money. The precision of the cuts hinted at anatomical knowledge, perhaps a surgeon or butcher, and the fact that he operated in broad daylight, just yards from sleeping families, showed his brazen audacity. The nightmare escalated on September 30th with the infamous double event. Elizabeth Stride was discovered first. At 1 a.m., in Dutfield's yard off Burner Street, a shadowy enclosure behind a socialist club where immigrants gathered. Her throat bore a single deep slash, severing her carotid artery and causing her to bleed out quickly. But unlike the others, her body showed no abdominal mutilations. Investigators speculated the killer had been interrupted perhaps by the club's steward arriving with a pony cart, forcing the Ripper to flee mid-act. Witnesses described seeing her with various men that night. One in a peaked cap, another broad-shouldered and respectably dressed. Less than an hour later, the Ripper struck again, this time in Mitre Square, within the City of London, a small, enclosed plaza patrolled by constables. Catherine Ito's body was found at 1:45 a.m. by PC Edward Watkins, her throat severed, her face horrifically disfigured with slashes across her cheeks, nose, and eyelids. Her abdomen was torn open from pubis to breastbone, intestines draped over her shoulder, and her left kidney and most of her uterus expertly excised and taken away. A piece of her bloodied apron was later found discarded on Goulston Street beneath a cryptic graffito scrawled in chalk. The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing, fueling wild theories about Jewish involvement or a cover-up. The climax of brutality came on November 9th, with Mary Jane Kelly, whose murder stood apart for its indoor savagery. In her dingy single room at 13 Miller's Court, a cramped, 12-foot square space off Dorset Street, the roughest in Whitechapel, her landlord's assistant discovered her at 10:45 a.m. after she failed to pay rent. The scene was a charnel house, her throat cut down to the spine, her face hacked beyond recognition, ears and nose sliced off. Her abdomen was emptied, with her uterus, kidneys, and one breast placed under her head, her liver between her feet, intestines by her side, and flaps of thigh and abdominal flesh on the bedside table. Her heart was missing entirely, possibly burned in the fireplace where ashes smoldered, the heat so intense it melted a kettle spout. Unlike the street killings, this one allowed the Ripper hours of undisturbed time. Perhaps under the cover of a locked door, turning her body into a grotesque display that shocked even hardened detectives. As the bodies piled up, the investigation kicked into high gear, but the Victorian police were woefully outmatched. Scotland Yard assigned top inspectors like Frederick Aberline, a seasoned detective with a mustache and a reputation for tenacity, to lead the hunt. They canvassed the streets, interviewing thousands of witnesses, prostitutes, lodgers, butchers, and sailors, offering rewards and even using bloodhounds in a desperate bid. Coroner's inquests were held in public, with graphic details dissected under gaslight in packed rooms. While doctors like Thomas Bond performed autopsies, noting the killer's apparent surgical skill and left-handed strokes. Vigilance committees formed among locals, patrolling with clubs, and the press whipped up frenzy, dubbing the area Murderland. But leads evaporated. A leather apron found near one scene pointed to a suspect nicknamed Leather Apron, a Jewish boot finisher named John Pizer, but he had alibis. Fingerprints weren't yet in use, and forensic science was primitive. No DNA, no blood typing. The police flooded the streets with undercover officers dressed as women, but the Ripper slipped through every net. Then came the twists that turned the case into a macabre legend, the taunting letters that seemed to come from the killer himself. The first major one, the Dear Boss letter, arrived at the Central News Agency on September 27th, signed Jack the Ripper for the first time, promising to clip a lady's ears and mocking the police with phrases like, "I am down on whores and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled." It was followed by the Saucy Jackie postcard on October 1st, referencing the double event before details were public. Boasting double event this time, number one squealed a bit, couldn't finish straight off. Most chilling was the From Hell letter on October 16th sent to George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, accompanied by half a human kidney preserved in spirits, claiming, "Send you half the kidney I took from one woman, praise, I'ved it for you too there. Piece I fried and ate it, was very nice." While many letters were hoaxes, over 200 flooded in, some from journalists stoking sales. These fueled speculation. Revelations piled on. Graffiti erased too quickly by police fearing riots, eyewitness sketches of suspects in bowlers or peaked caps, and theories linking the murders to royal scandals or Masonic rituals. Modern forensics added layers, like a 2019 DNA analysis on a shawl from Ito's scene pointing to Aaron Kosminski, Polish barber with schizophrenia, as a prime suspect. Other names surfaced over time: Montague Druitt, a barrister who drowned himself; Surin Klasowski, George Chapman, a poisoner; or even artists like Walter Sickert, inspiring endless debates, but no definitive proof. In the end, justice eluded everyone. The Ripper vanished as suddenly as he appeared, leaving the case unsolved and the families without closure. No arrest, no trial, just fading echoes of screams in the fog. The murders stopped after Kelly, perhaps because the killer died, moved away, or was institutionalized. Whitechapel slowly healed, but the shadow lingered, inspiring reforms in policing and social welfare. Today, the Ripper's identity remains one of history's greatest enigmas, a testament to the limits of Victorian law enforcement and the enduring pull of the unknown. What do you think? Who was Jack the Ripper really? A deranged doctor or a royal cover-up? Could modern DNA finally crack the case if we tested more evidence? And why do you believe the murders stopped so abruptly? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're hooked on true crime like this, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives on crime justice doing. Forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode tailored for you. Our USA viewers craving justice stories from across the pond.